If you're into conspiracy theories, this is a really fun one.
Whenever you're lonely, just pick up the phone and call me. I'll be there. Girl, let me show you, you're my one and only.
Hello, good morning. We're doing things. We're off to the races, as they say, all of them. They all say that. Everyone says that. Before we get off to the races, though, I wanted to share some things that I recently purchased, or I guess I should say my anxiety purchased. My anxiety likes to buy me gifts sometimes. They're always so random, but I'm very appreciative. They're always so random, but I'm very appreciative for what my anxiety buys me. So the first thing, randomly, I saw an Urban Outfitters ad for other clothes, but in the picture the girl was wearing these like red Mary Janes, so I checked out the Mary Janes and I actually fell in love with these white ones. Then I saw another pair of white ones on sale for 20 bucks, so I also bought those. They only have one band. Actually, I'll just get them out. I didn't pull them out originally because I thought you'd think I was ridiculous, but I am pretty ridiculous, so maybe you should just know that. Yeah, so I got two pairs. These are a little more off-white cream color. They're also more of a soft leather. Actually, none of these are real leather, but this is more of like a soft version, and then this is more that like polished patent leather type of thing. But I wanted to see the difference. Like, why is this one only $20 and then these are $60 and then these were $60? Like, why? And so I just wanted to get all of them so I could try them on at home and then return the ones that I didn't end up keeping. But I tried all of them on and I want to keep all of them. So there's that. I also bought socks. You can't just buy Mary Janes and not like have socks to go with them. And so far, like, all I have is athletic socks. So I also bought some cute little girly, like, ruffly socks to go with each of these. These black ones for the white shoes. Black socks for the white shoes again. Again, I don't know when I'm gonna wear any of this because I don't leave my house. But I saw them and I fell in love with them, so I had to have them, or at least my anxiety had to. So I bought them. And that's a cool story, huh? It's a very titillating story. Well, I got more to share with you. This one's actually a little bit more titillating. So the other things that I bought, well, I bought two of the same, looking like the same books. And let me tell you a little bit about how this came along. So if you listen to Shit They Don't Tell You this week, it's about exploring fan conspiracy theories of celebrities who died and then got replaced by clones. We love doing like really absurd topics like that and then like researching them seriously. So I was doing that, and they're funny. Like, the one's Avril Lavigne, one's Eminem, and the other one is Paul McCartney, because Paul McCartney, you know, Paul is dead, that like started the whole thing. And one of the first conspiracy theory documentaries that Steve and I ever watched together as a couple was this mockumentary called Paul McCartney Really Is Dead. And it's done really absurdly, but also it's like super creepy and it makes you feel things. So we're like, both kind of bonded over that, like, oh, that's such a weird conspiracy theory. And then I forgot about it. And then when we were doing this episode, I went looking again to just like retrace all the story, like the official story of the conspiracy. And there's a whole bunch new stuff that came out since 2013 when Steve and I first watched that mockumentary, that was like a whole rabbit hole of information that I'm like, this is crazy. Like, it's evolved way more. The theory that has evolved way more than when I first stumbled upon it. So I ended up like going down this winding rabbit hole of videos. It's just all so fascinating to me. If you like conspiracy theories, you probably like that feeling of like, oh my god, what if, like how they connect the dots is like so creepy, even if it's totally crazy. So it led me to this book called The Memoirs of Billy Shears, which is supposedly written by the man who replaced Paul McCartney. The Sir Paul McCartney that we know today, is his real name is Billy Shepherd, William Shepherd, or Billy Shears. And this is like an account, it's like a historical fiction book that is like told from the point of view of the guy that replaced Paul McCartney. Okay, So here's where it gets really freaking weird. Okay, so I ordered 2 copies. Why? Because this one is like the selections from the main one. The big book, this is the actual main book, has 666 pages in it. You do what you will with that number. And like it's really, really thick. So in all the reviews that I read of this book, it said to start with the smaller version, and then if you like it, to continue on to the big version. So I just bought both, but I guess there's another version too that has footnotes, which gets into even more crazy details. But anyway, this book gets really creepy because there's so much like verifiable history that's in it, which is, you know, kind of tantamount to a historical fiction. Like you're gonna have to have some like historical stuff in there, but it goes into details that are super, super intricate, and like it seems almost too much to be made up, which is kind of weird. And it gets weirder. So then there's also the fact that okay, so Paul McCartney's picture is on the back, and Paul McCartney hasn't said a word about this. Like they're using his image and likeness, and he hasn't like tried to sue them or anything for that. Also, if you're familiar with Paul McCartney, he does like paintings and art, and this is like really similar to his style, but this piece of art has never been like released before, which is pretty nuts. And then but it's all like, you know, someone could have been just a huge Paul McCartney fan, but then you find out that the audiobook was recorded by Gregory Martin, who's George Martin's son. George Martin was their producer, the Beatles producer, who's often referred to as the 5th Beatle. And the entire audiobook is voiced by his son using the Abbey Road equipment that the Beatles recorded on, which is now in somewhere called like British Grove or something Grove, I forget. Anyway, so Gregory Martin does the whole audiobook in Paul McCartney's voice. So that's interesting. And then the other thing is they use a lot of, like they have a lot of Beatles lyrics, like just all written out, and there's no copyright infringement lawsuits happening. They also use the works of a couple other artists who this person claims to also be. He says he did multiple roles, not just Paul McCartney role, although that's the role like he ended up in permanently, but he also did other roles of other entertainers that were known. And one of them, his name is Vivian Stanshall. I guess he's like a British performer back in the day, and he was kind of like loony vaudeville type entertainer, and he goes a lot into detail about Vivian Stanshall and uses a lot of Vivian's and that band's lyrics and stuff that they own, and claims to have the rights to it. And there hasn't been any lawsuits from that estate either, or anyone saying anything really. And then also the publishing company of this book is Pepper Press or something. Yeah, Pepper Press, which is owned by Maca Corp, which is supposedly owned by Paul McCartney himself. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. Could be a troll. Obviously, he has a really good sense of humor, and if it was a troll, it's a really good troll, because it's really fucking crazy and really serious in tone, and it kind of relates to a lot of like the stuff like that, you know, forensic scientists. Okay, so there's just one thing. I've been really into this conspiracy for a little bit of time. But since I came out with the Shit They Don't Tell You that we recorded last week and is now coming out this week, I've just gone down this rabbit hole of information. And, you know, there was 2 forensic scientists, which I talk about in the episode, that try to debunk the Paul is dead theory, because they're like, oh, this is fun, and like we'll just show them with forensic science how it's the same person, even though that person is aged and may look a little differently. It's still the same person. And they were going to prove it with like the way that their mouths are, the dental, like stuff that can't be changed or altered with plastic surgery, like the inner ear canal, and this nose, they call it a nose rope or something, nose, whatever. This little part right here, that can't be changed, and then like your jaw structure can't be changed with surgery. And so they compared like really old pictures of Paul McCartney with new ones, and they're like, you know, a 2% margin of error is normal for age, and just like different angles that photographs might capture that like make you look a little different. So 2% margin of error is always allowed in the forensic studies, but anything over that, and they have to classify it as two separate people. And the difference that they found in these photographs was over 6%. So they're like, we are stunned. We can't like actually scientifically say that it's the same person. And by any other means, like this would be classified as two different people. And it's fucking, that's crazy, right? And then also there's some DNA cases where, so Paul McCartney was a little bit of a sleut back in the day when they were like touring, and he had some illegitimate children. And this is on record that he has been paying child support to the mother of the illegitimate child, but he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be the dad, right? But he like still paid child support because he had to, it was court ordered to, and was paying child support. And so anyway, there's this one girl in Germany, her name is Bettina, and this is all like public. She learned that her father was Paul McCartney, and that's who had been paying the child support. That's verifiable. Okay, so then she wants to make a connection with him, and he says, I'm not your dad. And then she actually takes him to court, and I don't know on what grounds, like what, I don't know how, I didn't look super into this case, but I do know that she took him to court for DNA evidence of paternity, like so that he would take a paternity test, and that would prove that he was actually her father. Well, the DNA came back and it wasn't him, even though he had been paying the child support. And the mom looks at pictures of him in court and was like, I didn't have sex with anyone else during this time period. This is definitely the father. And that guy in those pictures is not who I slept with. She's like, that's an imposter. And then they looked at the signature for, like, he signed, you know, the blood, when they were taking his blood for the DNA test, he signed like a medical thing. And she's like, that's not his signature. It's signed with a right hand of someone. Paul was left-handed. And they took it to a Beatles museum, and they like matched the signature to an old signed poster, and the signatures didn't match. And so like that it's all crazy, because they're like, they sent an imposter to take this paternity test, but it's in this book, he's like, no, it really was me there, and it really is everyone people think is Paul McCartney or identifies as Paul McCartney, but it wasn't the father of that child because he is dead. I know, it's wild. The Paul McCartney conspiracy theory is so ridiculous. It's like so crazy that when you dive into it, you're like ready to laugh, and then you like get more and more into it, and you're like, wait, what the hell? Because if this is true, that's really wild. Like, that's really too bizarre. So anyway, I got really into that. If you're into conspiracy theories, this is a really fun one. Take it with a grain of salt, obviously, and Sergeant Pepper, because salt and pepper, okay, it's fun to read. If you think of it as historical fiction, it's still fun to read. It's still a creepy story, and I don't know how it got approved by so many forces. But there's that. Now what we're doing today is I'm taking pictures for Kittens and Coffee. The newest release is coming out next week on Friday, Thursday for Patreon, and so I'm taking pictures for the website today, and our new stone is Amazonite, and it's like a light green color. So I pulled some things that are kind of like the stone, and then kind of like contrasty, some stuff that goes together, stuff that makes me feel good. I pulled out these papers. Maybe one of these things could be cool with it. I don't know. We're just gonna play around. Usually I just play around with it, and we find it somehow. So that's what we're doing now. And I'm so excited for this release to come out next week. It's such a pretty stone. Like, it's so pretty. I can't show you on camera. Like, I tried to show you before, but it just doesn't capture, like, there's like a almost like an opalescent type of sheen to it that doesn't get captured on camera. I don't know. I don't think you can see it on camera, but it's so pretty. It just reminds me of the ocean and it's so pretty. So I'm really excited to take pictures of that today. So I'm gonna try on my shoes with my new socks. So that's fun. And I'll probably exercise, I don't know, meditate, read more Paula's Dead stuff. It really will make you feel crazy if you go down that hole. Like, you'll be like, no, this is, I'm not gonna believe this, but also it's pretty crazy. Oh, I'll probably play some poker later too. Oh, we had our Patreon poker tournament last night. It was so fun. Shout out to Noah for winning. Woo woo.
My life depends on trying to figure a scribble I could let loose, dodging the dribble that they trying to throw my way. I think I figured that them figures out to get you. Let them pull the strings that trigger what you say. Think it's difficult to get out on my brain. I wish life wasn't any other way. Y'all keep looking for a new wave. I think I like it how it is.